Okay. All right. Are you planning to speak? Okay. Awesome. I want to be fresh. I'm fired up after what happened this morning. And I just want to thank you for.
Oh yeah, I got some folks to talk to today. I don't know if you got to hear the House debate this morning.
That's what I was referring to. I'm fired up and I'm pissed off. And I just really am grateful to you for putting yourself out there like a sacrificial lamb. It must have been hard to listen to all this misgendering, misunderstanding, all this bullshit, but you gave them so much ammunition.
To do that for 3 years, and I have been
We're
literally
here,
like,
we're queer. That's what works. That's
but I mean in the sense of
carving
like,
milk.
Yeah.
That's how we make progress.
up till now, I was kind of
Familiarity.
not putting myself directly. I mean, I made a video last year at the end of session, which is why I was no longer, well, one of the reasons I was no longer assigned to the State House for this year,
Right. Because you're too out there.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And then I lost my job on Friday, and at which point I was like, oh, I have no conflict of interest. So,
Okay.
and then this happened Monday, that happened Monday, and it's like, well, there's
Are you Samantha? Hey, thank you for the email this morning. Yeah, I saw that was happening, and I was already on my way down, but thank you for the heads up, because it's a 3 mile. So, right. Yeah, no, we were watching. So thank you. Yeah,
I'll
or
go
dark,
all in the middle.
however.
Wait, Susan, did you steal the?
I did sign up as an opponent, right?
Yeah, you did. And also, but I meant, did you steal the pen?
No, that's my pen.
Oh. So what was 58 door?
I hope I get to speak twice, and I hope they let, because I've got lots to say.
Which one was 58?
58, they're exactly the same, but 58 is first. They're exactly the same. Word for word.
Okay, Tish. Sign up on both.
Sign both? Okay.
I don't know that I've met you.
I'm Tish.
Tish, oh, I have met you. Yeah, it's been a year.
Move forward. Yeah, I don't want any amendments. I don't know where Sam is. Yeah. Sam, do you want to present your bill first? Are you going to take any amendments? Separately, yeah. And I asked Pat if we could do it we're both on the bill. Yeah, he told me. Yeah, but he said we could just drop it and refile a new bill if we want to. I'm not. Let's just do them. We'll do them together and move on.
You know, like we did the UD this morning. They were a little different.
Yeah. If I could have your attention, please. We're running a few minutes late, but we're going to go ahead and get started. Sorry that the committee ahead of us ran over a few minutes, and we'll try to expedite our meeting here. If you would, Samantha, please call the roll. Oh, she's passing out. But we definitely have a quorum. Okay, are we ready now? Yeah, if you will, please call the roll.
Senator Allen, Senator Bell, Senator Chambliss, Senator Coleman-Madison,
Here.
Senator Figures, Senator Kelly, Senator Kitchens, Senator Roberts, Senator Stewart, Senator Stutts,
Here.
Senator Williams.
Okay, we have 9 members present, and most of you have seen the agenda. We have actually 3 bills, but 2 of them are identical, and we've had a public hearing requested on those 2 bills. So we're going to go in reverse order and get the one that's relatively non-controversial out of the way. Senator Coleman-Madison here.
Yes.
There you are. So do you want to do Senate Bill 102?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. This is the Medicaid providing presumptive eligibility for pregnant women. As you know, Medicaid really, most of their clients are pregnant women. This would establish presumptive eligibility to determine the coverage for a pregnant woman, provided that she has made an application for coverage and has it has proof of that from a qualified provider that has made the determination, and also makes an application to Medicaid 16 days after she gets that in order to be eligible to receive service. So basically, it saves lives.
What this will do, having been a Medicaid provider in this exact situation for over 30 years, and what it will do, it will facilitate patients getting appointments quicker. My office, we never did that. If you called, we gave you an appointment. But a lot of offices wait until you get Medicaid approval so that they know they're going to get paid. And this will just give presumptive eligibility. And if you're pregnant, you're going to qualify for Medicaid. So it's presumptive eligibility is going to turn into being eligible and being awarded Medicaid, and it will just facilitate those people getting in for their first prenatal visit sooner. So it's a good bill.
Mr. Chairman, I move for favorable report.
Thank you. Is there a second? Any other discussion? Okay, let's call a long roll.
Senator Allen, Senator Bell, Senator Chambliss, Senator Coleman-Madison,
Aye.
Senator Figures, Senator Kelly, Senator Kitchens, Senator Roberts, Senator Stewart, Senator Stutts,
Aye.
Senator Williams.
Bill's given a favorable report, 9-0. Thank you for working on that issue. The other 2 bills are identical. They deal, Senator Givhan and I have kind of unbeknownst to each other, I guess communication would have been better, but we both filed bills, and I thought his bill had something different than my bill. So kind of our goal today is to move both of these bills out of the committee, and then we're going to end up bringing one of them to the floor. They are identical to a bill that has been filed in the House, and so we're looking at moving these out, and the House bill may even move faster than these do in the Senate. But anyway, we have identical bills. So I'm going to just ask Senator Givhan if he would come up and talk about the bill briefly, and then I can do the same. And we have a request for a public hearing and have 3 people lined up to speak. And so you can be cutting your notes down. You'll get 2 minutes each to speak when the 3 people that are signed up speak. Senator Givhan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is something I think many of us were surprised to find out that when we were going through some of the COVID situation, and we did make an amendment. I guess Senator Orr captured part of my language from a bill to deal with COVID shots, raising that up to 18. And it's just, I think it's something that parents want to be involved. I understand there's an argument that there's some parents that are not involved, and we'll be talking through that as we go through this process. But the parents that are involved in their children's lives want to be aware of their medical decisions and want to have input in those medical decisions. And so this bill would raise that bill. I think the original bill went in about 71 or so that lowered the age down to 14. And so this would raise it up to 18, and there are some exceptions that you will see in the bill. But thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you, Senator Givhan. And I'll just add to that like I said, we have the same bill, and our intent is just to deal with both of them here together, so that they have the same fate. But it's an issue that I realize, like he said, that there's parents that aren't perfect parents, but the fundamental principle should be that parents have the right to be involved and should be involved. And we've batted this around. I participated in a conference call with about a dozen doctors from around the state one night that had issues with it, but I've also heard from a lot of people fully in support of it. And since we filed it, I've heard from parents that said, my family was in this situation. I wish this bill had been in place when my son or daughter was 15. So anyway, let's get on with the public hearing. And we have 3 opponents signed up to speak against the bill. And the first one is Susan Stewart. Susan, welcome to the committee. And again, you've got 2 minutes.
Hello, I'm Susan Stewart. I drove down in the pouring rain today from Huntsville, Senate District 9, to speak to you today. These parental right bills actually take rights away, not just from teenagers, but from parents like me. They put teenagers' lives at risk. As a mother, when my 3 children became teenagers, I desperately wanted my children to have access to the care they might need without having to involve me. My husband and I tried to establish a trusting and safe relationship with my children, and they say we did that. But do you remember being a teenager? As a nurse, I know that legislation cannot take into account all the situations that might occur. This bill creates an impediment to getting care that endangers lives. In states that have raised the age of medical majority to 18, there have been unintended consequences. Many children don't live in a stable home with parents who are able or willing to make sure they get the care they need. Parents who may be absent, seriously ill, or incarcerated. And often the relatives caring for these children don't have legal guardianship. This causes delay in care that can be deadly, delays in cancer diagnoses, delays in diagnosing suicidal ideation. This bill strips teenagers' rights to confidentiality when seeing a medical or mental health provider. There are legitimate reasons why teenagers need confidentiality. For example, teenagers will hesitate to talk to their doctor about symptoms of STIs if they know their parents could find out they are sexually active. The provision in this bill that allows teenagers independently to seek care for STIs does not specify that they will have confidentiality. A legislator, an MD, who voted for a similar bill in Idaho later regretted it when he learned that children of abusive parents couldn't get care without the permission of the abuser, and that abusive parents have access to records if their child does decide to confide in a care provider. The provision in this bill keeping abusers from seeing their kids' medical records applies only after the courts or law enforcement are already involved. That could be too late.
Thank you. Next speaker is Zephyr. I can't read your last name, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I have the writing of a doctor. Unfortunately, I don't have the MD. I apologize for my appearance this morning. God was apparently cleaning out his swimming pool for the summer and decided to dump it on all of us. My name is Zephyr Scalzetti. I live in Senator Hovey's district, but I'm actually reading a statement on behalf of Chris Hathcock, who is also represented by Senator Hovey. They were unable to get off of work today. When I was in high school, I had what the school nurse described to my parents as an altercation with a bandsaw in shop class. Their ability to rapidly apply first aid to what was in reality a minor, non-life-threatening injury made the trip to the ER mostly redundant. In every state in which this bill is passed, we've seen that schools are now afraid to offer first aid without permission slips. The legislatures then blame the school for malicious compliance and say, that's not what we meant and you know it. Well, the statute does actually prohibit it, and so I'm here to tell you that that is, in fact, those legislators' fault. I'm sure there's some folks making an argument about parental rights, but we're throwing common sense out the window. The default should be opt-out instead of opt-in, so all of the parents worried about their rights can fill out the form, and all of us who forget to fill it out don't have to rush over from work to put our bleeding kids in the car. Please stick to common sense and vote no on Senate Bill 101. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much. 1 minute and 8 seconds. You did great. Tish, I also can't read your writing for your last name.
Tish War. And I have a very loud voice, so I probably shouldn't use this microphone because it might.
Well, it's being broadcast in other areas
Oh, I
in the
gotcha.
building, so if you don't use the microphone, people that are listening in their office are unable to hear you.
Okay, well, maybe a bit very loud, but yes, my name is Tish War. Good afternoon. I am a licensed social worker in the state of Alabama, and I live in District 15, and my representative is Lee Holsey. I have previously worked in child welfare. I have worked in investigations, and this bill concerns me greatly. As adults, we all have a responsibility to protect children who may be vulnerable to abuse and neglect. So often, in my experience, I received reports of alleged child abuse from a counselor or medical provider that a child attended. I would not have been able to make contact with the children as part of my job had that child not ensured their safety and well-being with the medical or counseling service provider. If passed, this bill would be an astronomical barrier with far-reaching unintended consequences for children who are living in abusive and neglectful homes. So many children live in unstable environments that sometimes need to attend services without their parents' knowledge. What a child is seeking services for and what they disclose with their service provider are part of confidentiality laws that this bill is in direct conflict with. There is a risk that children living with grandparents or other kin would not be able to access services, as aforementioned, if the appropriate guardianship documents are not completed or filed in time. This bill could cause serious harm to children in risky, life-threatening situations. While this bill has a narrow intended effect, it will have impacts on every child. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you very much. Well, that concludes the public portion of the hearing. Questions from any of the members of the committee? Discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I think the issues that they raise are legitimate, and I was wondering if both sponsors would consider maybe trying to add something in there. Child abuse is a known fact. There are a lot of children in their homes being abused. There are a lot of children who are in maybe a foster care situation that's being abused. As a former teacher, you do have that situation whereas, you see child abuse. I was the kind that would report it. There were some teachers that said, well, no, I don't want to get involved or what have you. But many children that you see are afraid to come forward, especially if you have to call in the parent or call in the abuser. Senator Graham, you're an attorney. I'm sure you all maybe can come up with some language that would address that to protect that population so that they won't be further victimized.
Senator Givhan,
Which bill we on?
Go ahead. I'll address it too then.
I think that there's going to be some discussion about these bills and how we go along. I don't expect that they're going to pass exactly the way that they are today, and that's part of the discussion that we'll have through the legislative process. One point that was made by one of the speakers, and I've had this discussion with some of the interested parties out there in terms of, trying to make it an opt or an opt out, I guess. And, my question there is, or my initial reaction is how do you opt out? I mean, am I supposed to, if I don't want, a medical professional seeing my child, am I supposed to file something at the courthouse? And are they going to have to go to check the courthouse records? I mean, there's not going to be a repository for this. I think maybe we could look at something just as long as we're experimenting in that vein, maybe for public school kids, something with the school system. But I think we got to be practical about this. Again, the majority of the parents care about their kids, are not abusing their kids, and we've got to talk about the rights of the majority and try to figure out how to deal with the minority situation that are out there. And so I'm welcome to discussion on that and debate about that.
I'll echo that. As it moves along the process, I'm willing to look at ways that we can improve it. But I would say the basic presumption is that parents want to be involved. So when you look at the thing of, well, if you want to be involved, you have to opt in, then that's against the basic premise of parents being responsible. And then as far as the age issue, I would say most states are either 18 or 19. There are a few states that are 16, and Alabama is sitting at 14. And you can debate what ages it needs to be, but I'd say, well, all the rest of the states have figured it out. And when you look at Alabama's record in child welfare, we're not at the top of the list. And so the lower age has not helped that. And so my intent with the bill, again, is I'm open to discussion, but passing it out of the committee today without changing it, and the identical bill has been filed in the House, and we're going to get together and try to see if there's ways that we can improve it.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I see that you, if I may be recognized.
Yes,
I
please.
see that you have amendments for both of them, and I let me just say I support the bills, both of them the same bills. I think the amendments are good. I know how frustrating it was with my niece that I had custody of, and you go to the doctor and then you don't want to get it. Even universities, where they are, they don't want to give you information about. And especially when you go to the doctor. I remember in one instance where I said the doctor said, well, she's age, she's blah, blah, blah. I don't have to. I'm like, okay, but I'm paying the bill. So I could just stop paying the bill?
Amen.
Cut you off? I mean, you have to, for me, it was tough love. But if I'm not entitled to the information to find out, this is not trying to be punitive. I'm responsible for your health. So I think it's a great bill. I do want you all to look at somehow of, again, that population. You said, well, the majority. We don't want to leave those vulnerable populations that's already been victimized. So if something that we could say in the case of if a child comes forward and it is reported that this is abuse, you can use the judge discretion of wherever it goes. I don't know. But there's something about whether that parent should have access. It's like giving the child back to the parent that's the abuser. So I'm just asking that we come up with some language to protect that segment of the population. And I will say this, although it may be a small population, but there are more kids that are out there that fall in this situation. Otherwise, you would not have laws on the books about child abuse.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Senator Figures, I think you had your hand up. And
yes,
then
sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Chambliss.
I can see where 14 is a pretty young age for medical consent or having access to medical care, but I really want us to be realistic. And I don't take the presumptive stance that our parents or most of our parents mean or good parents and want the best for their children. That is my hope. But after being here, this session starts my 29th year. It is amazing the homes that some of these children live in and what they have to endure behind those closed doors. And just like you see the commercials with the masks that people put on with the smiling face so that you don't see their mental depression and all, there's a mask that families put on too. So we have to take that into consideration. There are some times when parents don't even want it to be brought out that a child is suffering with this or that, or that they may be suffering from that because of how they are treating the child or not feeding the child or not giving the child what they need. So I want to make sure we take care of those before this bill goes to the floor, and that all of those things are taken into consideration. Now, while I know you're probably going to eventually pass this bill, I would like to see it be age 16 at least, rather than 18. Kids today, I think they are at 16. They can they drive. They take a lot of responsibility in caring for themselves, and for a parent to be able to trust that their child can take themselves to the doctor to deal with whatever situation they're dealing with. But I have a couple of sheets that I could read about this bill, and I'll just read the headings. In that this bill, it's a threat to youth mental health access in a crisis, harm to children without parental support, increased pressure on schools and community services, the link between childhood trauma and incarceration, strain on emergency and crisis response teams. So all of those things need to be clarified and simplified so that there's no room for variations of interpretation, if you will. But I want to make sure that all children are going to be protected at all times, because many of us would be surprised at some of the conditions our children live under. And they can't talk about it because their parents threaten them if you tell a soul this or that. So I would like to offer an amendment to at least make the age 16 at this time, as we continue to work on the bill, Mr. Chairman, and Senator Givhan, if you would please take that.
Senator Givhan.
I'm not on the committee, so it's up to the committee. I'm not, at this point in time, that's not a concession I would like to.
Let me tell you, Senator Figures, we are very open to working through these issues and try to making it the best bill that we can. But again, you're welcome to offer the amendment, but I'm going to make a motion to table it and try to pass the identical bills out today without it being amended. But before it comes to the floor,
that doesn't sound like you're too open, Mr. Chairman.
Said I'm open to looking at this. We have talked about 16, 18, 19 as we drafted the bill. We've looked at those issues, and the House version is the same. We've looked at how many states have different ages, and
well, I will offer the amendment anyway,
okay,
and let the vote go down as it will, and I will have a number of other amendments when it makes it to the floor. I'm sure it will. Taking all of those things into consideration.
Okay. Is this the amendment we have a copy of here?
Yes, SB 58 is the one we are dealing with now, right?
Yeah, we're dealing with both of them. They're identical. So we're going to
I have one
vote
for each bill.
We're not going to have two public hearings for the same thing. So motion and second to the amendment. Yes. You want to discuss the amendment?
Yes.
Okay.
And how I support the amendment. But I just want to share, Mr. Chairman, thank you for the recognition. And it's great to dialogue from the gentleman originally from Dallas County by way of Huntsville. Our country has made some really great strides regarding teen pregnancy rates. And I think with this legislation, it kind of moves us backwards when you talk about the age of consent. And I think we need to consider when we're drafting legislation, the unintended consequences regarding children and their rights to privacy. I know they don't pay all the bills, but they're still human and they do deserve privacy in some sense. We're seeing, and also besides teen pregnancy rates, we're seeing an increase in suicide rates among our youth. And what happens, I'm not saying that the parents are necessarily abusive, but what happens when this child seeks mental health and the parents are counseling, parents have access to the records, and they say, oh, you're telling our family business? And so that puts the child in an even more precarious manner. So I just ask that we consider all of these aspects and the unintended consequences, and that children, they deserve to be heard and seen and have humanity. Parents, they might not necessarily be abusive, but they can't even conceive of a lot of the problems, conceptualize a lot of the issues that children are facing today. I know I hearken back to my teenage years. My dad, he was somebody I can talk to. He had understanding. My mother, on the other hand, she was a church lady, and she just couldn't conceive of a lot of the issues that we faced as teens. So I want us to consider these caveats as we move forward with this legislation.
All right, thank you. Senator Chambliss.
It seems to me that this bill is actually dealing with unintended consequences of the all to begin with. There are, in my mind, there are kind of three sets of parents as we're talking about. There's good parents, and however we define that. Then there are parents who would like to have their children have this permission, and then there are the bad parents. And we're trying to handle all three of those three different sectors with the same language, and it's a little difficult. So to me, it sounds like that as you all develop this, let's take the permissive parent that would like the child to have this decision-making authority. Maybe we can just put in the bill that they have the right to do that with a signed affidavit, and they give that to the child, and the child has that permission from the parent.
I think that's something I could go with, is that parents willing to do that, because then they're conceding that authority or assigning that, and that's their business from my perspective.
Yeah,
So,
I think
Chairman,
that's very reasonable. Any
Mr.
other
Chairman,
discussion
yes,
on the
but
amendment?
that is part of the problem, Senator Chambliss. There are parents who are not going to give that child that affidavit.
that's their right. I mean, they're the parents. That's their right.
Yeah, but if why can't we take it to 16? Or why can we not take it? Why do you disagree with 16? Why do you disagree with 16 as opposed to it being 18?
Well, 16 is better than 14. I mean,
Right.
that I agree with, but someone is not an adult until they're 18, and there are other things that, I mean, I'm sure Senator Stutts is getting this as well. I'm getting calls from different people talking about different ideas. I mean, one of the things would be an exception for a kid that's in college. You know, some children are in college at 17, 16 even. So there are things like that we're gonna talk about, or at least I'm willing to talk about.
And we do have quite multiple exceptions in the bill where you could be emancipated from it. Senator Roberts, you had a comment.
I would echo what Senator Chambliss just said, and I really like the way you put that. Raised 3 sons. Two of them I would have trusted from 14 on, but we had great communication. I had one that maybe he's older than all these ages, and there's still some challenges. So, and I would like to think that we would fall in the good home category. We did everything we knew to do, and we've got many families out there. And anyway, I think where you're going with this, Senator Givhan and Senator Stutts, makes a whole lot of sense to me.
Okay. Any other comment or question? I know yes, sir. Senator Williams.
I would just like some kind of assurance that at 17 and 18 they're in college, that they're on their own, because I see it like some of them see it. They're going to be a lot more active, and if we you don't put it where they can get consent, they're not gonna go to their mothers and fathers and ask to get on birth control or anything. They're just gonna have sex and
Yeah.
get pregnant, and we're gonna have that issue to deal with.
And that's an
State of
exception in
Alabama,
the bill.
We can't have it.
To diagnose or prevent pregnancy is an exception that's in the bill, if you've
But you're
read that
telling me
detail.
at 17 or 16, they can go to the doctor on their own and get on birth control. That's my biggest issue.
Yeah,
That's already addressed.
yeah, that's already addressed. Any other
And
questions
we've
or
taken
comments?
some
We've got
hits
an
to the
amendment
right
on the
on that.
floor.
It's amazing.
I'm sorry about that. Thanks. It's good. We have a number of thousands of students in Tuscaloosa, and more than half of those is out of state. And just one of those kind of things that need to be considered and thought about. And I know it'd probably be best to carry the bill over, and then you appoint a subcommittee or whatever you need to do to resolve this issue. Because Auburn's got students, I mean, all over across the state, we've got students that's transplant into Alabama.
And like I said, all the states they came from have ages higher than Alabama does.
Well,
But,
yeah. But anyway, just a thought for you.
yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Most college students are going to be 18, but we have talked. to
Yeah, we've
universities
talked about
whether it is
making an exception with if you're independently in college, but
I had a child one time that was 17.
yeah, understood. Yeah, yeah, and so I think that's something that we can discuss and look at ways to make that cleaner. But as far as blanket lowering it to 16, from my side of the bill, and I think Senator Givhan says too, I mean, not in favor of that. But anyway, we have an amendment on
I
the
have
floor.
one more question, Senator. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Have there been
18.
a large number of cases of things that have happened that didn't go right or whatever with a 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old getting access to medical care? Usually we pass bills to make a situation better, not on what we think is going to happen or whatever. But are there any known cases out there where things have happened where a child went to get medical care and the child's life was in danger, or I'm just looking as to a
Not that's
reason.
made it to me, Senator. I
Right.
mean, I'm sure that's happened out there, but that's not what's really driving this. I mean, because I think one thing is a lot of parents wouldn't know because they don't have access to that information.
Well, is it driving at something else that you all are not saying?
What's driving this is parents being in control of their children's and not the medical community.
I understand that, but I think you all are not saying what you really
That's
Trying to stop
pretty much out there.
doing.
I don't have an ulterior motive on that.
Maybe you don't, but this bill does.
Yeah.
Anyway, I will just ask for the vote again for the amendment.
Okay, we have an amendment to lower or to change it to the age across the board in the bill to 16. Motion and a second. All those in favor of the
Can we
amendment,
have a
say
roll
aye.
call vote,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Roll call vote then, if you'd like that. It's
Yes,
fine.
sir.
We'll call the roll. Yes, we're dealing with both bills at the same time. This
Okay.
vote will amend both bills if it passes, so they're identical. There's no, call the roll, please.
Oh, he's got it.
It's both of them. But my name is on that one. I
Oh.
thought we had to turn in with our name on it.
Senator Allen, Senator Bell, Senator Chambliss, Senator Coleman-Madison,
Aye.
Senator Figures,
Aye.
Senator Kelly, Senator Kitchens, Senator Roberts,
No.
Senator Stewart, Senator Stutts,
No,
Senator Williams,
The amendment fails 5-4. Do we have a motion now on a favorable report on the bill?
So moved.
Second. Here. Any objection to using the previous roll? Any of you want to change your vote? Any objection to using the previous roll?
We have to reverse.
Yeah, use the previous roll and it won't go out of committee.
So,
Yeah.
okay, we'll call a new roll. Motion is second is for a favorable report.
Senator Allen, Senator Bell, Senator Chambliss, Senator Coleman-Madison,
Aye.
Senator Figures,
Aye.
Senator Kelly, Senator Kitchens, Senator Roberts, Senator Stewart, Senator Stutts,
Aye.
Senator Williams.
Thank you, members.
Thank you very much.
You would have lost some
Senator
votes.
Grant.
I will be back. It should have make
Yeah.
it to the floor, Senator. I will be back because you don't sound like you really want to change anything in this bill, although you said you opened and working with people. But
And
anyway,
both-
I'll be back at the mic on the floor.
Understood.
The vote senators, I'll be
All
bringing
right,
back
thank you,
something.
members. Meeting's adjourned.
Okey dokey. So much for that.